All right. Good evening, neighbors. Thank you for joining us tonight. I call this regular meeting of the Oakley Planning Commission to order. The first item of business is going to be roll call. Vice Chair Verduzco.
Here.
Commissioner Price. Commissioner Ramirez.
Here.
Commissioner Krieg.
Here.
And I, Chair Chuko, are present. Commissioner Krieg, would you kindly lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag of our country? Will everyone please be upstanding?
Ladies and gentlemen, the flag. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Excellent, thank you for that. Okay, so item 2.1, it calls for our selection of the new chair and vice chair. And at this time, I'd like to see if we have any deliberation, or is there a motion to nominate a chair?
Director, or excuse me, Commissioner, this would be an item where we'd need to go to the public first, if there is any comment on this.
Oh, okay, absolutely, no problem. So, yeah, are there any public comments for this item? I don't believe there's any cards in front of me, and if no one is willing to fill out anything at the moment, we will just move on to deliberation and potentially a motion.
I'd like to make a motion to nominate Diego Verduzco for chair.
Excellent. So we have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, so moved and seconded by Commissioner Krieg and sorry, and Commissioner Price. Question? Do you have any comments? Would you serve? You would be interested?
Yes.
Okay, very good. All right, well, let's call to vote. So all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Those against? Hearing none, the motion passes unanimously. Very good. So the second item that we need to do is nomination for the vice chair.
I'd like to nominate Leonard Price for the position of vice chair.
Excellent. Okay, so we have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second that.
Okay, thank you so much. Was moved by Vice Chair Verduzco and soon to be Chair Verduzco, and seconded by Commissioner Krieg. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye. Aye.
Those against? Hearing none, the motion passes unanimously. Thank you, City Clerk. Would you please kindly record the vote? And we will actually take a 5-minute recess to rearrange here and for the new installed officers to assume their positions. Yeah, 5 minutes. And just one more time, ladies and gentlemen, if you have any comments, either for the items on the agenda, I believe there's one item, or for the items not on the agenda, there are speaker cards available in the lobby. Please fill them out and submit them to our city clerk. and we will resume momentarily. Thank you for your patience.
All right, everybody, welcome back from break. At this time, public comments will be heard for items not on the agenda. I do have a public speaker card that was submitted. To submit a public speaker or a public comment, please complete a speaker card located in the lobby and submit to the Deputy City Clerk. The time limit to speak is 3 minutes. The time limit is monitored by the timer located in front of the chair's seat. When 1 minute remains on the timer, it will beep, and it will beep once and the light will turn yellow as a reminder to complete comments before your time expires. And the one public comment that I have is from Sharon. She wishes to speak. Come on up, Sharon. Thank you. You have 3 minutes.
That's okay, because I think you guys need to hear what I have to say too. So I'm here on two of them, Mercedes and this one. I'm on here on Summer Lake.
We're doing the one, we'll do the one
just-
that's not on the agenda first.
Right.
And then-
So I have been in front of the city council for 10, 15 years now. I live out at Summer Lake. And I guess you guys are the perfect person that I need to speak to. The building of anything in the city of Oakley and beyond, you guys need to hear us as citizens and stop the build. And the city of Oakley knows I'm that one person that will stop it. I do have an attorney. They're aware of it. The city of Oakley's aware of it. If I have to do a cease and desist or whatever that lawsuit looks like and have half of these people on that lawsuit or the whole city of Oakley, I live out at Summer Lake. I've been landlocked 5 times. Coming here tonight took me like 30 minutes to get from Summer Lake to here. I get it that the road's going to be built in 2 years, blah, 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 blah. I said de novo home. It was not to sell one home. You started selling homes 2 weeks ago. So I'm here for you guys to hear because I've never been in front of the Planning Commission, so it's maybe meant for me to be here. You need to hear us of stopping the build in Oakley until infrastructure and whatever that looks like. And I've been told, well, it's, it was 100 years ago and blah, blah, blah. I'm tired of it. I went through a fire out there. We're no different than LA, Paradise, or anything. Don't think that we can't burn and be complacent to that. So I hope you hear every single one of us. I have nightmares. It stresses me out constantly. That school in the corner back there should have never been built, but that's beside the point. And all you're doing is putting houses and building and homes and people out here. I went to there last weekend, was anonymous to the de novo builder, and I said, hey, did you guys know that it's one way in, one way out? Oh, no, you can get out this way, which was Cypress to Sand Mound, which that is not an exit. And I asked stupid and not anonymous. And then he said, oh, well, you can go down Bethel Island and go out that way. Both of those roads that he said that they're selling or however way they're telling people that this isn't one way in and one way out, we already know we're in one's lawsuit, right? You guys all know that. If I have to put a sign in that vacant lot over there and get whatever approval I need to say you need to realize it's one way in and one way out. And I think we're all concerned in the city of Oakley, and we hope that you hear us. Thank you.
Thank you for your time. Okay, I don't have any more public speaker requests for non-agendized items, so we'll move on to the consent calendar. Is there any discussion, or would someone like to make a motion to approve the consent calendar from last meeting?
I move to approve the minutes from the December 3rd, 2024.
I'll second.
All right, we have a first and a second, so I'll call for a vote. All in favor of approving the consent calendar, say aye.
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 Any opposition? Hearing none, that motion passes. Okay. So there is no. All right, any reports from staff members?
Thank you, Chair Verduzco. I just wanted to publicly communicate my appreciation for Commissioners Jimmy Ramirez and Jeannie Krieg. This is their last Planning Commission meeting for their very short term. It's been a pleasure working with both of you. Sad to see you go. Wish you would have reapplied, but understand there are more important and other things to take care of. So I just wanted to say thank you very much. I know the community development staff and the rest of the city staff here has appreciated having you sitting up there on the dais. Thank you.
All right. Item 7.2, any reports from the Planning Commission or reports for future agenda items?
I'll also express my appreciation for the city staff. There's so many regulations and requirements and rules and outrageous legislation that you have to follow to do the work that you do. And I'll tell you, from the outside looking in, it's way different than being a part of it. And I appreciate the patience you and your staff have shown me and the rest of us when we ask a million questions. But I'm super impressed with the city staff of Oakley, and I'm proud to be a resident. I've lived here since 1982, and hopefully I'll live here for another 40 some odd years, and appreciate your support and help.
Thank you.
Yeah, and I just to add to that, we had our joint Planning Commission City Council meeting, the Climate Action Plan meeting, which was really, really exciting meeting for folks to kind of air concerns around potential crisis and kind of articulating fears around water rising and fires arriving at our area. Was a particularly powerful meeting to attend. And with that, I want to thank everybody up here on this commission for, as an educator, as a teacher here locally, this has been quite an education in how our public works work. And so I just want to thank notably Commissioner Krieg for, for all the lessons.
Thank you both for your time and your service. Commissioner Chuko.
Yeah, thank you. And I just wanted to also actually show some appreciation for both of our commissioners. It was a pleasure working with both of you, Commissioner Krieg, Commissioner Ramirez. You have been just incredible part of our team, contributed a lot, really took your job with a lot of seriousness. And as Commissioner Krieg just mentioned, it sure looks different, you know, when you look at it from the outside. Once you have a chance to sit here, you get a lot of appreciation for a lot of things that are happening in the background, and there's a lot of work out there. A lot of problems, a lot of issues look very simple, you know, when you are not actually getting to nitty-gritty of it. And I just want to say thank you for contributing your time. You could have done so many other things, but you chose to be here. You chose to care about our community, and for that, we are all grateful for your time and service.
All right, anybody else? Okay, so we'll move on to item 8.1, work session. 40 Mercedes Lane Preliminary General Plan Amendment, PA 04-24, work session to discuss the merits of a potential project to amend the general plan land use designation of approximately 5.7 acre site from commercial to residential high. Mr. Cortez, our senior planner.
Before Jose gives his presentation, I wanted to provide a little bit of context on the item in front of you. I want to thank everybody for coming out tonight, and Jose will go over a little bit of this as well. The item 8.1 that is being shown tonight is what we call a preliminary general plan amendment. It is not a request to rezone property, although it is somewhat related to that. It is a conceptual idea that's brought forth to the city that we as staff bring to the Planning Commission and then the City Council after for a work session such as you see tonight. The idea is to allow for public comment and more of a dialogue amongst the planning commissioners to go over the conceptual plan. There is a site plan that is tied to it that is for the benefit of seeing what could be built should an application for this be filed, should that application move forward, should that application receive approval. The Planning Commission is not being asked to vote on anything tonight. When this goes to the City Council will not be asked to vote on anything at that meeting either. The idea is to generate discussion, which we have done based on the comments you have received. So this is working. We see this process is working and doing what it's supposed to do. So with that being said, I just want to reassure everyone there are no votes taking place tonight. We thank you for coming out. Thank you for being a part of this process. It's very much appreciated. Jose?
Thank you.
Thank you again. Good evening, Commissioners. The next item on tonight's agenda is a work session to discuss a preliminary general plan amendment that would potentially amend the general plan land use designation of an approximately 5.7 acre site from commercial to residential high for the property located at 40 Mercedes Lane. The property is located at 40 Mercedes Lane and is bounded by a mix of uses including a school, commercial, residential, and vacant commercial. The site is south of Laurel Road between O'Hara Avenue to the east and Mercedes Lane to the west. The 5.7 acre site is predominantly flat and undeveloped with the exception of a residence in the southwest corner of the site. Here we see the site overlaid with the zoning designation and surrounding designations. Again, tonight before you is a work session request. As Ken mentioned, a work session offers a chance for feedback and community involvement. Because this is a work session, city staff has not conducted a typical review of conceptual plans. The purpose of this session is to simply get feedback on whether there is support for the change in allowed housing density. This item is a request to discuss the merits of a potential project to amend the general plan land use designation of the project site from commercial to residential high for the purposes of applying for entitlements to subdivide the property for residential development. A conceptual plan is requested when a project team submits a preliminary general plan amendment. The conceptual plan shows conceptual plan which helps to visualize how a project under the proposed designation may look. The plan here shows 58 single-family lots with standard lot sizes on the outside of the map consisting of 2,352 square foot lots, standard interior lots of 2,072 square feet, and the largest lot, lot 8, is 3,016 square feet. Staff analysis. When evaluating amendments to the general plan's land use designations, it is important to conduct a comparative review of land uses and designations of adjacent properties. As development progresses and land use designations change to facilitate that development, pressure can increase on nearby vacant properties to develop or request similar or higher density amendments. It is crucial to consider the broader implications of such amendments on surrounding properties and their potential to set precedents for other areas, potentially leading to more amendment requests. This is an advisory hearing only. There's no process to approve a project because of this work session. The Planning Commission may act in an advisory role to the City Council. Staff will include the Planning Commission's consensus, direction, and minutes from this meeting to the City Council at a future work session. For your reference, please see the exhibit of existing and proposed designations for your reference during deliberations. Additionally, the applicant team has provided staff with potential home designs for the potential project, which are seen here as duet style homes. Thank you.
All right, so at this time, we'll open the public comment. I just want to remind everybody of the 3-minute time limit. And then I will first call on those who submitted online comments that would like to speak. So I have Eric Pratt. Is Eric Pratt here? Good evening, Mr. Pratt.
How you doing?
Doing well, how are you?
Doing good. So I moved out here in 1996, so I was around when Oakley was a town, right? I actually love the screens that we had that talked about the vision of Oakley being a small town, being able to play in your backyards, and the community. I think that's a huge part to actually mention. A lot of my neighborhood family and friends are actually here right now. We all live in the same court. We're a family. We're right next to this lot. And I can say that I think what we need to ask ourselves is really, if we're trying to maintain the vision of Oakley of a small town and keeping things nice, does this really answer that? It even mentions playing in your backyards. I'm pretty sure none of those lots even have backyards. I'm just saying, when we're talking about building and adding so many more houses and people into a city, we need to also consider, can the city even handle that extra amount of people coming in? Who's going to be moving into those homes? I actually went to Laurel, O'Hara, and Freedom. Are those schools going to be able to handle the dramatic increase in potential students? We're building off of Cypress right now, and a lot of those houses aren't even done yet. Have we considered those being introduced into the community? The police station, fire station, are we considering their need to be able to supply for a bigger community? We also need to consider, as far as building goes, I'm partially in construction a little bit, but what about the supply of water in that area? Is that going to affect all the neighborhoods having to have an increased water supply, make their water bills go up? I just don't see this type of building being something that is town-based, community-focused for relationship and keeping our town nice. I grew up here again since 1996. I remember Oakley being small town. And I hate to say, as I get older and I've lived here and I have my own family, the one thing I hate to see is I hate to see the farm town, the small town, the friendly town turn into a place of car washes and storage units and gas stations. Frankly, it's even appalling that we would have the audacity to put a nice, healthy establishment such as McDonald's next to an elementary school. I think that's a little ridiculous. That's not community-based. But I know my time's about to run out, but I'm saying if we're going to think about this, let's think about the community in the heart of Oakley and what that vision, if you want to build that stuff, you might want to change it, because I don't think that's the vision for Oakley.
Thank you, Mr. Pratt. So up next, we have Nadine Obaid. Hopefully I'm pronouncing that right. Hello.
Hello, thank you. As a property owner and concerned resident, I stand before you to oppose the rezoning of 40 Mercedes Lane at Laurel and Mercedes from commercial to high-density residential. This proposed rezoning is a direct assault on the long-term stability and character of Oakley. I urge the Planning Commission and City Council to reject it. Within a couple of a day's notice, almost 300 residents have already signed and voted against this, and this number will only continue to increase. First, this rezoning conflicts with Oakley's general plan and existing zoning ordinances. It disregards the city's land use objectives and would undermine Oakley's strategic growth goals. This development is incompatible with the character of this community. The negative impacts on property values are undeniable. A high-density development like this will increase traffic congestion, strain local infrastructure, strain the school's resources, utilities, emergency services, parks, create overcrowding. With its proximity to Laurel Elementary and its surrounding neighborhoods, it would have environmental and health consequences. It will create significant noise disturbances, pollution, shortage of parking, and cause safety risks directly to children and families. This isn't just about inconvenience. This is about a quality of life that will be irrevocably destroyed for existing and new residents. This also could be considered spot zoning. One lane in and out is also dangerous for potential future emergencies. Economically, keeping the commercial zoning in place not only allows the developer to still achieve profitability, but would provide sustainable, steady revenue for the city through business taxes, sales taxes, property taxes, and other commercial-related fees. Keeping it commercial will continuously feed in the city's coffers, benefiting the city budget and provide much-needed local public services. It would support the local economy and generate jobs for residents, further increasing the tax base. This would encourage even more long-term business investment in our city, and Oakley would stand to benefit more by fostering thriving public services. This is where long-term economic growth lies. In addition, the high-density development would have psychological and mental health impacts. Stress, anxiety, overcrowding placed in the community cannot be understated. These emotional costs will destroy residents who have spent their lives investing in this community. They spend their lives commuting and working long hours outside of Oakley for the right to come back to a calm, peaceful environment. This rezoning is a direct violation of homeowners' right to quiet enjoyment, the right to enjoy our homes with unwarranted disturbances. Also, to paraphrase Jose Cortez, senior Oakley planner, allowing for development of up to 95 dwelling units on this site, which is potential, would create significant pressure for similar high-density rezonings on its surrounding lots. This is creating a dangerous precedent leading to urban sprawl that will destroy the intended general plan for Oakley and irreparably harm our community and its character. As some of you are heavily involved in real estate, this should not be a foreign concept. We've seen this before, and we won't allow history to repeat itself. City Council has an obligation to protect the interest of the residents, not just cater to the interest of a single developer who doesn't even live here. City Council members have also lost the trust of the community. This time, we encourage you to listen to the residents, or the community will take further action. Thank you.
Thank you. Question for Mr. Cole. I did have a number of people that did not state whether they wanted to speak or not. Do I still call on them, or what is the right?
No, if they did not request to speak, we do not have to call on them.
Thank you. Okay, up next, I believe this says Andrea Brown, who wishes to speak. Good evening, Ms. Brown.
I did request to speak online, so I don't know what happened, but I will try to be brief. I didn't write anything up. Nadine's my neighbor, so I agree with everything she said. I do oppose this high-density residential development on Mercedes. I lived in Antioch. In 2002, I had a home. I had it in a nice neighborhood. There were no restaurants, no apartments, housing. So in the area. So I seek that out when I look for a home. I have a daughter. I have 2 stepkids who live in Oakley. Their children are going to be going to Laurel as well. My daughter goes to Laurel. She's been going there since kindergarten. So I moved here to Oakley in 2021. So I lived in my home in Antioch from 2002 to 2021. My daughter, through the daycare reasons, I put her here at Laurel. And I said, you know what? I got to hurry up and move over to Laurel so that she doesn't ever get rejected, because I like consistency. In my career as a probation officer for the county, I retired last March, so it hasn't quite been a year. I'm going to start, new jobs, new ventures. But my point is, I worked in this community. I worked in this county. I know what happens when you're moving a lot. So my point is, I wanted to get my daughter over to Laurel, and I did that. I accomplished that. I met my goal. I'm proud of myself. So all these people that you see here, they're my neighbors, they're my friends. Some of them have moved from Antioch to Oakley, and they're here now. So my point is, I lived almost 20 years in that home. I plan on staying here in this home a good 20 years and just living my life. My daughter is 10 now, so she's been at Laurel Elementary the entire time, and the plan is to go to O'Hara and Freedom. I just think it would be a devastation to have this. Ooh, I used up my time. I'm so sorry. Anyway, I do oppose this. We're already getting a Safeway, and there's supposed to be housing across from there, so that would be an awful lot of housing. I just hope that you consider the residents and listen to us.
Thank you, Ms. Brown. All righty, up next we have Brad Nix, who wishes to speak. Do we have a Brad Nix? Good evening, Mr. Nix.
Brad Nix, 16 Highwood Place, Oakley, California. Also been here since 1982. Hi, Jeannie. Got a little bit of history in the town. I'm here to oppose any change in the zoning of this property. I want to first state, aside from the obvious mismatch of this project, of that density in the neighborhood around it, which is incredible mismatch, there is also the traffic issue with the Laurel School on Mercedes Lane. It's ridiculous to even consider something like this. that location. And I'm going to add, there are numerous 5-acre parcels throughout Oakley and or outside of Oakley where a project like this could be put in. I'm not in favor of them, but there are many other places it could go. Most of Oakley is zoned residential. It doesn't have to be here. What's wrong with this spot? This spot, the original city council doing the general plan spent a lot of time, I can testify to personally, zoning commercial property for Oakley to develop for the economic reasons you've previously heard about. There are very few spots on Oakley in Laurel left where you can do that. This spot would have been developed commercially years ago, if not for a bad economy and a bad decision during a planning commission meeting, actually city council acting as planning commission, which delayed a planned CVS that was going to go into that location across the street. The moment that CVS went in where the 7-Eleven is now, Walgreens was ready to come in on this piece of property. We have to protect commercial property in Oakley so that Oakley has an economic wherewithal to supply our citizens with what they need. Just as a little aside fact, we generally in Oakley get about 10% of the amount of money per capita as, for example, Walnut Creek. The difference is a lot more commercial property and higher property taxes from the benefit of that commercial. You gotta have it or you just die as a city. So a couple of other things. Okay, I'm running out of time. In addition to everything else, the idea of this particular property with that high a density means little kids running around on what's one of the busiest streets in Oakley. That is utterly absurd. And I want you to know this too, because I doubt if anybody here other than maybe Jeannie has the memory I do of this. In the early 1980s, this same exact site was proposed by the county as affordable housing. Does anybody remember that one? And what happened? You think this is a crowd? There were demonstrations on this property site. There were people screaming at the county. That stupid mistake by that builder trying to pull there is what helped galvanize Oakley into becoming a city. The opposition to exactly that kind of misguided thinking. And here we are talking about it again. Just say no.
Thank you for your time, Mr. Nix. All righty, up next we have Krishan Ross, who wishes to speak. Good evening, Ms. Ross.
Sorry, I had to get my cheaters on. Okay, so I appreciate, let me take these off to talk to you directly. I appreciate all your time. I know as a planning commission, you have a lot in front of you to do, and you're volunteering your time, and I really do appreciate every single one of you committed to making Oakley a better place. So start with that. But once again, the residents are here standing before you, strongly encouraging you to uphold what the community members and the previous planning commission set in place in the general plans. The intent of general plan is to zone the property on the corner of Mercedes and O'Hare was for retail, business, to serve the best interests of the residents and the larger community. What Matt Benke is proposing with this amendment to rezone it residential, it's flawed. Primarily, I believe, driven by spite and greed. We fought him before with the McDonald's and the car wash there, and we were pretty adamant and strong. Somehow it got backdoored in, but we fought hard and strong, and now we're aware and we know how to fight better. He said, and I quote, "No business of value wants to come to town because we cannot simply attract them here without a larger anchor store." Well, now we're getting a Safeway. And the larger anchor stores will only move to major exits like Lone Tree or Balfour, not Laurel. He doesn't see Laurel as being beneficial to a commercial retail because he's been sitting on the property for the last 20 years, which I really feel for you for that. I get it. I'm not here to say that no business person should make money. I understand the hardship that might cause, but we're the ones who have to live with the consequences of whatever he's trying to do. So I live with the McDonald's and the Quick Quack car wash that he was interested in putting, and it got approved and it got there. There's a condition with the drive-through. but he was able to finesse that. Now, although I feel for him, high-density residential housing doesn't serve what's best for the community. That plot being rezoned to high density, which appears to me to be duplexes and triplexes, which totally doesn't do justice for the community whatsoever and the look and the framework of what we're trying to go for. Not to mention that it's across the street from an elementary school and a district office. Now, I understand the future is business. We want commercial businesses to be here. I oftentimes find myself having to go to other cities to shop. So it's not, we don't want it to not to allow people to move in and live here. We just want it to be responsible building and planning. We would like to see things go in that actually fit with what we desire, what we wish to spend our money and time on. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Ross. Okay, so up next we have Sean Ross, who wishes to speak. Do we have a Sean Ross? Good evening, Mr. Ross.
I'm going to keep it brief. I oppose this project, this 40 Mercedes Lane project. And my neighbors have already done a really good job of explaining the reasons why it's bad for this neighborhood, why it's bad for the city of Oakley, and why it's bad for our community. I don't know if any of y'all have ever been down Mercedes Lane in the mornings or the afternoons, but it's a mess. It's like to sit through like 5 cycles of lights to go 1 block is just crazy to begin with. And then we're going to add 58 units and figure, you know, if you have a 2-parent household, so that's 2 people getting up to go to work, 120 vehicles leaving the complex about the same time everyone's going to school and everyone else is going to work. You're going to make a bad situation worse just with the traffic on Mercedes Lane, not to mention the safety aspects for the children, for all the additional vehicles and traffic. Looking at that diagram there too of the proposed project, it's like, looks like there's 2-car garages, no street parking there. So if anybody has a 3rd vehicle or they have guests, guess where they're going to be parking? They're going to be parking in the neighborhoods on the streets in front of our homes. It's currently zoned retail. I like that. I'd like to spend more of my money in the city of Oakley instead of having to go to Antioch and Brentwood and Concord and Walnut Creek. And it would be better for the community to have places where we could go and spend money here, places we want to go to, instead of having to spend our money in other neighborhoods. Property value. I believe that this change is going to affect everybody in this room's property value, except for Mr. Benke over here, to our detriment. And those are my 3 big ones. The traffic and the safety with that. A place to spend our money in the city to benefit the city's coffers, and I forgot what my 3rd one was, but I'm good. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ross. Next up, we have Brian Pinkerton. Does Brian Pinkerton wish to speak? Good evening, Mr. Pinkerton.
How are you folks? My neighbors, they said a lot. They said it all. It really would be a mess with the traffic. And then coming with the high school coming in, and those kids zoom through there, it's a mess. And you put that many people in there, it's not going to be good. Not going to be good. My neighbors said everything I needed to say. So I appreciate the time. Thank you. Thank you, neighbors.
Thank you, Mr. Pinkerton. Up next, we have, I believe this is Sharon Kendall.
Anyway, I've been here since 1987. When I moved here, there was nothing but and what I was told, it was going to be a little city of Napa. It's going to be like Napa. I remember all the vineyards and all of that and how small it was. Knowing now that I know that this is the owner, I bet he's been here since day one. So I get that he would want to sell that property and get out and make money in what he can. My thing is too, I want to give you guys, thank you for doing what you're doing. I'm the president at our HOA, so I get it. I work my butt off for that community, but I also work my butt off for the city of Oakley too. I'm very vocal on social media. People know who I am, and half of these people in here know who Sharon Kuykendall is. So I'm opposing that too, because I can't get out on Cypress, let alone I have to go to Cypress over the back road by O'Hara to even avoid that section to get on the freeway, and it takes me about 40 minutes from Summer Lake to the freeway, which it used to take me like 15 minutes. So, and my school out there in Oakley, in the Summer Lake school, we can't take any more people. And one thing that I want to get, at the end of the day, we only have Highway 4. I don't care how many people you want to put out here and how many more houses. We ain't going nowhere. If we needed to get out, that levee breaks, floods down, whatever it happens. I mean, we need to see a bigger picture here, that we're not getting out. We will burn to death. Don't think if LA did it, Paradise, we can do it. It can happen here. Like they said, every person that spoke, I think they've said it. We don't even have the first responders, the police, all of that to even handle. I don't want to see any more houses anywhere. I don't want no more people. Because we're a small town, and like I go to Antioch to shop. But anyway, please hear us. Don't change that. Make it whatever. And hear us, because if I can make changes for my community, so can you. Thank you.
Thank you. Up next, we have Mario Ponce. Good evening, Mr. Ponce.
Good evening, everyone. Not many people know me. We just moved to town this last summer. So I see some of my neighbors and some of you. Hello, my name is Mario. Not to beat a dead horse, but just to raise some concerns. My daughter is here. She's 12 years old. Please raise your hand. These are some things that she brought up. I just elaborated a little bit more, but if she can come up with these ideas, then I think it's incumbent upon me, my family, my court, and my community to speak up. So I'm going to go quickly through 7 key concerns. Number 1. Increased traffic congestion. Again, not to beat a dead horse. 58 new homes will bring a significant number of additional vehicles, increasing congestion on local roads. Obviously, we've already talked about it. Potential bottlenecks at key intersections, especially during peak hours. Number 2, strain on infrastructure and public services. More homes mean a higher demand for water, sewage, and electricity, which may and will require costly upgrades. Increased stress on emergency services, including police and fire departments, and potential impact on drainage systems, leading to flooding. It's pretty rainy out there, if you guys haven't noticed, and someone already mentioned the levee, and things of that nature. Number 3, overcrowding in schools. Local schools may already be near or at capacity, and adding dozens of families could and will lead to larger class sizes. They need additional school facilities. The need for these additional school facilities could and will increase local taxes potentially. Longer commutes or boundary shifts for students as the schools become overcrowded. Number 4, the loss of commercial space and economic opportunities. Again, we've already heard people speak on maybe the potential impact of actual commercial and retail and shops and restaurants that will contribute to the community as opposed to more housing. Number 5, neighborhood character and aesthetic concerns. High-density housing may change and will change the existing feel of the community, especially surrounding the homes that are single-family with larger lot sizes. As the first gentleman, my neighbor, Mr. Pratt, said, it is not congruent or aligned with what the vision says, literally. Number 6, parking and street congestion. We've already talked about it. And number 7, someone else already mentioned, precedent for future rezoning and development. Now, one of the reasons I failed to mention why I moved is because the city I came from, also much like Mr. Pratt, I grew up, born and raised. My children were born there. We left because it got overpopulated. And all the things that came along with that contributed to the reason for us to seek out a community like Oakley, which we love. And that's all I got to say. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Ponce. So we have another card from Madam Moros, but did not indicate whether they wish to speak or not. So we'll just, okay. Thank you.
My name is Michael Matamores. I live right behind the school on the west side. I got 5.5 acres. Moved here in 1963. Grew up on the farming. The place has changed a lot. And the environment in this area of what we're talking about here on Mercedes, it's the last bit of history for Oakley with the little ranchettes, the piece of property, big yards, the kids, the elementary school. I mean, that's what Oakley is. This just isn't a good fit. I'm not against it. I'm just not for it here. I think that needs to be relocated in a place away from this kind of lifestyle. The traffic, we all know this is a joke. My driveway's empty on Laurel. So for us and our families to drive out on Laurel, it's a challenge. And that's today. So if you want to throw that, or even try to consider something like that, with all the elementary kids that walk up and down those sidewalks and cross those streets, and now you entice them with a McDonald's, it's an accident waiting to happen. That just should not be there. Take it somewhere else. Like I said, I don't want to miss the opportunity for somebody else to make better for themselves, but this is not in Oakley's best interest. And I would definitely have, another work session if you guys choose to take it another step. I think then we will have to maybe form a committee and challenge this. Okay, so like I said, I've got about the same size piece directly west from this gentleman, right on the other side of the school. And I mean, we enjoy the kids up and down the streets, playing in the fields. There's just going to be, there's a lot of activity in that intersection. We can't forget about the freedom that school and the one on O'Hara. It's nuts twice a day. And that's just not by an intersection like that and a school like that.
Thank you.
Not for it. Thank you.
Thank you. So the last public comment that I have is from Jamie Spahn, which did not indicate whether he or she would like to speak, but we will, however, enter this into, oh, she is. No, you did not, but you can come up and approach and speak. Yep.
Good evening. My name is Jamie Spahn. I live in Wood Glen, which is directly behind the McDonald's. So when I became aware of this request for this parcel to be considered under affordable housing, was an evening that I spent with the planning department at the recreation center. And we all looked at maps for the city. And all of the city members that were there said, okay, this would be a great place for affordable housing. We knew that it is a requirement of every community and that it needed to take place. This particular parcel was not zoned. We knew that. We knew it's zoning for commercial, not necessarily high density. But even beside that, at that point in time, I don't recall anyone in the room saying that they agreed to the designation of this parcel for that. So I'm not necessarily opposed to housing on that corner. I'm just to high density housing. So I agree that Oakley absolutely needs more commercial, but I also agree that the city planning department needs to absolutely hold whomever builds extremely responsible at that corner for the desire of the community and the safety of the children, because that's what needs to take place to protect our citizens. And I truly believe that high density housing is not the answer for that corner. And I ask that you not consider it as part of the rezoning process. Thank you.
Thank you for your time. So that is all the public comments that we received. Up next, since there are no public comments, there being no further business, this meeting is adjourned. What's that? Are we not done?
Derek, can we?
Oh, 1 second. Hold on. Apologize.
We adjourn. Can we unadjourn?
Yeah. Mr. Chair, can we unadjourn?
We're not adjourning.
Okay. So sorry. I apologize. I believe the purpose is to give staff direction. We have heard from the public, but and now, really this is just a workshop. So I apologize. The correct thing to do is for the commission to provide comments to staff. Obviously, staff will consider everything we just heard, but the idea is that the applicant is here, and the workshop is designed to give the applicant a chance to workshop this, put it out there, see what the public has to say, vet all the issues. This is not an application. This is not an application hearing. Those will come forward at a different date. But the idea is for you as a planning commission, after all of the things you've heard and what you've heard from staff, is to give direction to staff and to just provide your comments on what you heard tonight. You're not going to take a vote, so you're just giving us your reaction, giving staff some feedback, because eventually this project would come back before you as a planning commission for recommendations, and in some cases some approvals at a future time.
Yeah, so my apologize. This was not in the script, so I didn't realize we were discussing it further. Would the applicant like to speak, Mr. Banky? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Congratulations on the appointment.
Thank you.
And the rest of the Planning Commission, thanks for the opportunity to be here, and I appreciate everybody coming out tonight to see this. Appreciate Jose for putting this together, and Ken for your comments earlier. Yeah, we've been out here a long time as well, over 20 years. Appreciated Brad Nix coming up. He was here on the council when Laurel Plaza went through the first time. Yeah, we did have a drugstore there. The economy crashed, things changed, and here we are. Just by way of some background, after what we went through the last couple of years with Laurel Plaza, we, frankly, with this concept, it was an effort to tone it down a little bit, frankly. This isn't our first time going through this with commercial. Probably not as common for us on the standalone, and what I mean by that, a little bit of background and resume. We developed Blackhawk Country Club in Danville, Canyon Lakes Country Club in San Ramon, Somerset Communities in Brentwood and Rio Vista, Apple Hill in Brentwood, the Vineyards at Marsh Creek, aka Trilogy in Brentwood, as well as Vista Dorado, or Diablo Estates, which became Vista Dorado, to name a few. We've done mixed use, and we've gone through this scenario in a couple of the different communities where, as the community built up around, there became a desire to, and an objection, frankly, to commercial. Make no mistake, we're crystal clear. We've heard the council and staff tell us for 20 years that And actually, frankly, in the last go round with the Laurel Plaza uses, that seemed to change. So I'll repeat it. Laurel and O'Hara were always main and main from a commercial standpoint. And there's nearly 50 acres of commercial designated there. So the impacts are significant. They are substantial. A residential modification, almost under any circumstance, is not going to go anywhere near the impacts of commercial retail. It's just fact. So that's why we took a shot at a concept. We've done this. Each of the communities I mentioned, we have duets in there. It's not normally considered high density. I get it. I also know somebody mentioned the designation allows up to, I'm going to forget the number, but it was in the 90s. That's not the intention here. Frankly, we didn't realize we were kicking into high density. So I know that designation alone puts some people back, right? And red flags go up. We thought the architecture was 2-story, tastefully done. It will be a nice community. But we do realize it's a workshop. It is a concept. And like I said, the effort was frankly to tone down some of the emotion and rhetoric that went through in Laurel Plaza and look at some alternatives, taking into account some of the nearby uses and issues. I know the school's a big deal. I don't downplay that. I have kids. I've gone through the same scenario. We've given property and built schools. We built fire and police stations. We built clubhouses. Almost anything in the suburbs, I don't know if there's a niche that we haven't done except self-storage and industrial. So we're very familiar. We didn't come into this concept lightly. The school is an issue. The only thing I can say, having dealt with schools, it's a process that the city doesn't have a say in, nor does the development, and frankly, neither does the rest of the community. It's done at the state level. They identify sites, they come in and meet certain standards, financially and otherwise, and they go. And that school has been here a long time. It's a great school. We believe this is a complement to it versus commercial, but again, we also understand that if that's a difference of opinion, then so be it. It's the commercial uses also create issues, as was seen with Laurel Plaza, tied back into schools. So again, don't take it lightly, but those impacts also, because the school has been here as long as it has, as Ken can attest to, it's already been factored into the general plan, the traffic analysis. Everything at Laurel and O'Hara has already been built out to the general plan's ultimate, which includes 50 acres of built out residential or commercial. So the traffic counts, all of those impacts have already been studied. They've already been identified, and the improvements that you just saw go in the last handful of years reflect that. So, and this is, believe it or not, substantially lower than that. So, having said that, I'm here to answer questions and comments, and again, appreciate everybody being here tonight, and we'll see where we go.
Thank you, Mr. Banky. Again, I have no direction here, but I'm inclined to see if the commission has any questions for the applicant before he leaves. Is that any comments or questions? I feel like that's the appropriate action. Again, I don't. Oh, this is for the owner. So first for the applicant, if anybody has comments or questions, and then we'll move on to the owner of the property.
Well,
sorry, yeah.
Not really for the owner in particular, just an overall comment about the whole process. Is it time to do that now, or should I wait until the end?
Let's hear from the owner, and then once you've heard
Okay,
from the
up
owner.
next, Mr. Ron Nunn, please. Good evening, Mr. Nunn. Good to see you.
Thank you. I'm pleased to be here. I've been here a little longer than most of you. Will be 92 in a couple more months. And so I don't live in Brentwood and I don't live in Oakley. I live somewhere in between. And I will tell you that Oakley is a very nice town. Brentwood is a very nice town. I don't think I could please these people with anything on that corner, because whatever you put there is going to have an impact. It's going to have an impact on traffic. It's going to have an impact on school. It's going to have an impact. But people need a place to live. And they need, and times change. when I was a kid, you know, there wasn't very many buildings between where I live on Sunset Road and Oakley. And, you know, there was one school in each town, so they're growing. I think they're growing pretty well. And I think you're doing a pretty good job in Oakley. You had a disadvantage with the county telling you what to do for so long, but now you got your own town and you can make your own decisions. And it's not an easy one, but I think it would be a good project. I'm not embarrassed of any projects that I've been involved in. And I've been involved in Apple Hill in Brentwood and Somerset in Brentwood and Trilogy in Brentwood and the development that you see across the street in Oakley. And also the vineyard that's on Vasco Road, if any of you commute that way. We're still trying to make a living farming in addition to building a few homes. So I thank you for your time and your effort, and I thank the people for being concerned about their town. But we're not going to hurt it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Nunn. Okay, now I'll open it up to the commissioners. Any questions, comments, concerns for the applicants and/or owner? Commissioner Krieg.
Thank you all for showing up. It is so wonderful, and it makes me even happier to know that I'm a long-term resident of Oakley. You all make me very proud that we all care about our city and the people who live here. I've mentioned in the past that I have a difficult time with changing zoning in a general plan. The general plan was put together in the first place with specific ideas about what goes where. Occasionally something comes up where it makes sense to change zoning, which we've done on a couple of occasions. But I always look at it if the change would benefit the citizens of Oakley and how it would benefit those citizens. And I'm not seeing that here. I'm not seeing how changing a commercial property to residential, either low density, high density, any density, I'm not seeing how that would benefit me as an individual resident of Oakley or any of you or the city as a whole. So I'm reluctant to support this. I don't see the benefit to our city.
Anybody else? This isn't working, so I can't. Commissioner Ramirez.
Absolutely. Thank you for that. I think it's important to note that I was 7 years old when this town became a city, and this is my home. I'm one of two Freedom Falcons up here, third generation resident of Oakley. Grandson of an almond farmer, and this place will forever and always be home. And the reason I joined this commission was because of bike safety, and I ride my bike everywhere, and I love my bike and complete streets. Appreciate the visual up here, but the safety component, I think that the purpose of this work session, laddering this up to City Council, I think it's important to elevate concerns around safety and concerns around safety around construction. So if we are looking at this, if you're going down, towards O'Hara, and this is for the City Council to consider, if you're going towards up O'Hara, towards Freedom, right, currently the Safeway is being built and there are large obstructions, right, one-lane roads. And I know, because I do this drive, sometimes I ride my bike on these roads, and we see school buses that have to stop in the middle of those roads. And I think, so any future, right, this is zoned red, this is zoned commercial, any future work, I think, on this road, because this is meant to be a safe haven for youth, for our young people, what does it look like to have regular check-ins with community members when we do these large construction projects? Because I think we're feeling the reality of that right now. Kind of speaking to the future of this site. The second thing I want to bring up that I appreciate is the strain on schools. I appreciate that I'm a high school teacher at Liberty High School, and I feel that daily, and I relish in the honor of being able to, teach at a school that my mother dropped out of. It's an honor, and the strain on schools, I think the city of Oakley is making concerted efforts from what I've observed and I've encouraged, but I know we have a neighborhood planning, neighborhood advisory committee where we're requesting one teacher, either from the school district, but I think further advancing more opportunities for local educators to serve in advisory capacities would be kind of allow for these this conversation on strain on schools to be a little bit more proactive versus reactive. So having that that representation, those folks at the table to have those conversations. And then the third thing that I really am hearing here is concerns around economic development. You know, the concerns around car washes, fast foods, and storage units in our city as primary mechanisms of labor, of you know, livelihood here. If those are our forms of how people are bringing in their dollar, how they're feeding themselves, I think it will prove really difficult to be able to afford living in Oakley. My friend, you know, 2 Freedom Falcons up here, you know, a lot of my buds are, you know, doubled up living with grandparent or, you know, in a unique housing situation. And so I wonder what does housing look like for those folks who are, I wonder what housing looks like for affordable folk, for people who need affordable housing here. And then on the economic development front, I know we've had the economic development director come and present to the Planning Commission. We have a really awesome Chamber of Commerce and a lot of you know, partnerships there and kind of that. But you know, as the grandson of an almond farmer, what does it look like to bolster agricultural heritage here from an economic standpoint? There's been mention with the library in that back corner, the visuals for that. There's been mention of bringing in county jobs to Oakley. What does it look like for residents to not have to commute, you know, 2 hours? I grew up with that. I rented right here in where it says existing, where the yellow is on Nutmeg. Me, my mom, my sister, we rented there. So I think looking at economic development for this commercial site, what does it look like for folks to earn a good dollar here on that corner and with a livable wage would be exciting. And I know that the city of Oakley is doing those efforts, trying to attract those entities to come and, you know, have jobs here. But I think that those three things, so safety, economic development, and then strain on schools, I think I would appreciate if the city council looked at more in-depthly.
Anybody else have any comments up here? Commissioner Price?
Yes, I support Commissioner Craig and her comment about rezoning, just to rezone. It was in the general plan years ago, and unless it's going to be a big benefit for the city and not cause a lot of problems to the neighborhoods around it, I fully support what Jeannie is saying there.
Thank you, Commissioner Price. Commissioner Ochuko?
All right. So, look, first of all, I would like to say thank you for both to the public and both the owner, developer who are present here, right? Because the idea is for us to have a dialogue, right? It's a work session. It's all very much a conceptual idea, right, at this point. And I just want to reiterate that we heard you. We certainly heard you tonight. We read your comments that were submitted online, and we also, like, we go on Nextdoor, we read, you know, your opinions, your comments, and we definitely hear you and we feel for you. Look, so I moved here with my family in 2018, right?
All right, welcome back, everybody. We got the cameras up and rolling, and we're ready to go. Where were we? Guess we're...
All right, folks, let's see if I can do this twice in a row. What do you think? Huh? That'd be great.
Hey, hang on one second. Okay.
Yeah, it's still saying secured. It's not. Oh, now, okay, I think I got it. Internet's back. Oh, sorry.
All righty. Commissioner Chuko, please continue.
All right, cool. Okay, I'm back. So as I was saying, 2018, right? I moved here with my wife at that time. We've been very fortunate to have two beautiful girls here who were born in this area. It's wonderful. It's great to be here. We feel like we're part of the community. But I just would like all of us to think about something too, right? So there was a gentleman here who I believe is with his daughter, right? They mentioned that they moved here, in 2021, I believe, right? Folks, last summer. Well, see, there you go. So even better. There was another one, right? 2021, right? Look, there's plenty of people who are newcomers here. They all had to buy a house, you know? So, I mean, you get it, right? To live here, to move here in this recent period of time, we had to buy a house, right? Housing is definitely a problem, not just, I mean, clearly for Oakley, but for the whole state, right? So, look, so with that said, look, for me, I do believe that keeping this property commercial would serve better purpose for the city of Oakley, okay? That is just my personal opinion, but also, look, I want you to also understand that we here serve at your will and pleasure, right? We are public servants, you know, we definitely hear you, and, you know, with all the deliberations, with all the talk, right? The reality is this: you still need to build housing here. This particular spot, in my opinion, is not the greatest for that. I think it would serve better for us as a commercial zone. But as something that the owner pointed out, you know, he kind of made a remark that nobody would be happy here if it's commercial or you know, or residential. I mean, and he's not wrong, okay? He's not wrong. There's going to be a group of people who would be unhappy, but I all want of us to think about this just really quickly. So you say you open stores there, right? You open different businesses. Guess what? People who would be who would be working there, right? They all have to live somewhere, right? I don't think a lot of them would be able to afford houses the way they are right now, the price level that they are right now in Oakley, right? And then, you know, so what that means, they'll have to commute. And when you brought up traffic, you will have the same amount of traffic, if not more, and I think that's what also was brought up by the developer. Okay.
Okay, this is not time for
sorry,
public comment.
Public comment has been
Not
closed.
time for public comment. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much. So, again, it's just my opinion, and I feel for all of you. I live in Emerson Ranch, right? We have Iron House School right there. I go through that traffic in the morning. I feel your pain. I understand. We have a lot of people, but we also have a big problem where there's simply just a lot of people in Bay Area, in this county, in this town, and they all need to live somewhere, right? So this particular spot, again, is, I don't think it's a good idea to have housing there. I do believe we need to keep our commercial zones the way they are, because I do believe the city needs more commercial, like more businesses that come and will serve this community. I think it's in our best interest. So yeah, with that said, that's my recommendation that I'd like to make to staff. Do not pursue rezoning.
Any other recommendations for staff? Anybody else? If nothing else, I just want to thank the members of the community. Thank you for coming out and voicing your opinions and taking the courage to come up here and tell us how you're feeling about the changes in Oakley, and I encourage everybody to continue to do so. So if nothing else, am I clear to adjourn this time? The public comment's over, I'm sorry. Mr. Ken Strelo.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone, for your comments, and to the Planning Commission for your comments as well. I think we've taken good notes. Hopefully the streaming worked fine, and we can go back and look at that if needed. But next steps are that this same sort of thing will be presented to the City Council. And since the way that we function with these work sessions, these preliminary general plan amendment work sessions is they are not technical public hearings, but we do invite the public to come provide comments so that the input can be heard. And because of that, we also send out notices of work session in the same manner that we send out notices of public hearings, which means they will be posted here at City Hall, they will be posted at the sites across the city that we post them, and they will be mailed out to all owners of property. So the owner's mailing address, not the site address, within 500 feet of the boundaries of this project. Usually these go to the city council within a couple of meetings after the planning commission. We just need time to prepare the staff reports, get the notices sent out, et cetera. And of course, people can always check online and check the agenda there as well, or just contact the planning division for future timing. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Strelo.
Good.
There being no further business, this meeting is adjourned.